green, and it was so bad. And they're like, we got to call the day. And to see dirt literally ending up on the track, and I don't want to say they were doing it on purpose, but it was more or less. It's like they just didn't care, and it was just it's really surprised me. So,
Welcome, racers and fans, to the Racers News Network Live, presented by Straight Line Performance and Automotive and Scotty Wheels Racing. Your hosts, Chris and Pete, bring you the latest news and interviews in the world of sportsman drag racing, including bracket racing, association races, outlaw, and no-time events. We are live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take it away, boys. Are you looking for comprehensive solutions for your performance and automotive needs? Straight Line Performance and Automotive is a full-service auto repair shop specializing in race car fabrication, electrical design, chassis setup and alignment. Located in Hamden, Connecticut, they also specialize in aftermarket high performance and chassis upgrades. Be sure to look them up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/straightline, STR8LINE, Performance, &Automotive, or give them a call at 203-415-5316.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great edition of Racers News Network. We have with us tonight our guest, Brian Gawlik, an HRA Division I top alcohol funny car driver. We're going to be talking to him shortly. I believe Pete is trying desperately to get home and get on. He hasn't texted me, but usually that's what's happening. He's running late at the garage. Joining every week, as always, to my left, or actually that would be my right, looking at it this way, is Scott McDonald. Wheels Racing. Everything's backwards on my screen. That's all right, whatever. So we have a lot of stuff to get to. We have a lot of results. Looking forward to talking to Brian. Scotty, I'm going to just jump right in, and we're going to kick it off with the divisional event in Commerce, Georgia. Let's see, it's the final divisional race at the Atlanta track.
Yeah.
So they're calling it a year after this year. Let's see, we're going to start it off with where should I go this time? Let's go with Top Dragster first. You're going to hear this name again in just a few minutes. Your winner, Anthony Bertozzi in Top Dragster, dialed a 719, ran a 723 to take out Brad Ford. Let's see, Top Sportsman, one of our favorite classes because our buddy Freddie drives that. Did Freddie actually get a chance to show up to your race this weekend?
Yeah, Freddie was at my race this weekend. Yep.
Did he bring the 57 or did he bring the Nova?
He brought the Nova and tried to slow it down to run 650.
Gotcha. All right, so again, Top Sportsman, Doug Gabur over Jackie Bennett. And moving on to Super Gas, Patrick DeBotis over Larry Burnshausen. Super Comp, Steve Hoyt over Dave Dahlem. And Stock Eliminator, Steve Foley over Darren Poole Adams. Super Stock, again, Anthony Bertozzi with the double up over a previous guest on our show, Anthony Bongiovanni. So congratulations for the double up to Bertozzi. I got to check in with Nitro Joe and find out how many double ups there has been throughout the country. Next up, Comp Eliminator, David Eaton over Tom Ratcliffe. So congratulations to all the winners from Atlanta. Going to move on to the national event, was just finished up a few hours ago in Baytown, Texas. They didn't want to run on Friday because of rain. They got punted with rain Saturday. They got rained on again Sunday and had to move it to today. So it was just a kind of a failure all the way along, but they managed to get it done. So starting off with the factory stock showdown, David Barton over Aaron Stanfield. Pro stock, Matt Hartford over Derek Kramer. Top field funny car, Robert Height over Ron Capps. Top Fuel Dragster Steve Torrance over Doug Coletta. Top Dragster Ross Laris over Will Carroll. Top Sportsman Darian Bosch over David Cadra, Cuadra. Sorry if I butchered your name. I probably did. And a top alcohol funny car class we're going to be talking about very shortly. Doug Gordon over Nick Janik. Top alcohol dragster. Let's see. Next page, sorry. Rachel Meyer over Sean Cowie. And that is it for the national event in Texas. So they think they kind of wish they could have taken that one and thrown it out. Let's see. Pete says trying to get on, but he's having some issues. No worries. It's all good. One more event we want to talk about. The Dave Stein Memorial Race this past weekend at Maple Grove. All the winners, and a couple of the special awards that were given out. David Markle won the Wayne's Auto Body MVP Award of the weekend. Markle edged Jason Kenny by one win light and got $250 for that. A good friend of Pete's, congratulations to Chris D. Pasquale. Wins free entry into the upcoming Maple Grove Divisional this past weekend. Best losing package won him that. So congratulations to him, and thank you to Division One for the special bonus to the Dave Stein race. The winners from race number 1 at the Dave Stein Memorial Race. Now, in Super Comp, it was Tom Stalba, and I don't know if anybody got a chance to see the video, but when Tom won, once he went through the lights, got the car slowed down, got turned around, came back, parked the car in the middle of the track and celebrated. I guess him and Dave Stein were very good friends, so it was an emotional victory for Tom Stalba. So congratulations to him. Runner-up, Davey Markle. Super Gas, the winner, Paul Lano over Jason Kenny. Super Street, Davey Markle over one of the heaviest hitters in the Northeast in Super Street, obviously, Keith Mayers. Race number 2 winners, Super Comp. The winner was Lee Ream. Runner-up, Don Milson. Super Gas, a friend of mine, Iggy Boychesko, Amanda Boychesko's dad, and big time winner in Division One and nationally as well. Congratulations, Iggy. Runner-up, Ron Ross. And Super Street, gentleman we just talked about, Chris D. Pasquale, runner-up, was the winner, and Tommy Mueller was the runner-up. So congratulations to everybody that got a chance to run at Maple Grove at the Dave Stein Memorial Race. Big shout out to Rob Keister for a job well done, and for all the sponsors that came on board to help make this race a huge success. I've also been told that there are still t-shirts available. So if you're interested in one, limited sizes, limited quantities, reach out to Rob Keister on Facebook, and he'll see what he can do to help you out with the size that you need. So all in all, it was a busy weekend. We're going to talk about Scotty's race in just a little while, but we want to go right to our awesome guest for tonight. Again, NHRA Division One top alcohol funny car driver. And it's a cool story of how he got to have his own operation. How he kind of, crew member, learned how to drive the car, got licensed and everything. Of course, I'm talking about the man that can do the full quarter-mile burnout, Brian Gawlik.
Yeah. I don't know about maybe a full quarter-mile burnout. I don't think I ever went that far, but I know I have done a couple where I ended up stopping past a quarter mile. Not in the alcohol car per se, but in the nostalgia stuff that I did. That was part of the show. It was, part of what we did. And, it's definitely a lot of fun for sure. When you're paying the bills though, you start to think a little bit like, well, I hope these valve springs survive. But, it's up at Lebanon Valley last year. I got to have a little bit of fun, and, it's it's a lot easier in this car considering it makes a whole lot more power, but and it's a pedal clutch too versus the Crowler glides, the centrifugal clutches from in the nostalgia cars that I drove. But it's definitely fun. It's just something about it when you drive, you go into the burnout, and then all of a sudden you can't see, and you're like, well, if I stay in it, maybe it'll clear out, and then it gets to the point where it's not, and then it does, and then you're like, all right, I can keep going. But sometimes you're like, it's just not clearing out, and I got a lift, I can't see anymore. So yeah.
Next thing you know, you're looking at the timing tower at the end of the track, right?
1,000-foot mark or something.
Well, yes, yeah. Lebanon Valley, when we went up there and I did that burnout in this car, I got to what me and Lou, my partner in the car, Lou Scrow, he basically said, go have some fun. And I was like, well, how far do you want me to go? And he's like, go as far as you feel, just don't hurt it. Well, I'm going, and I got to the point where I normally go, and I'm like, well, I'll go a little further. And I'm like, well, that's the 8th mile mark. I'm just going to go to there. And I just kept going, and it was a lot of fun, but you definitely couldn't see for a little bit and just stayed with it and just kept on rolling through. But that car started picking up some speed at the end of that burnout. So that's why one of the reasons I decided to lift. On top of that, seeing the 8th mile cones coming, I'm like, well, maybe I should stop because I'm going to be out here for a while and they might get mad at me.
That's funny. So now you got your start as a crew member on a couple of nostalgia cars. I know you're involved with the Time Bomb Boys, yes. With Rocky and Steve and Bobby and all of them, mm-hmm. Who I'm friends with. Obviously, we lost Rocky a few years ago.
Yes.
And then also with the Frantic Ford nostalgia funny car.
Mm-hmm. So it actually started a long time before that. My first car that I worked on was with Bob Rossetti and the Rolling Stone. I met him at a car show at a tech school I was going to, and I kind of was hooked instantly because I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, what is this? I need to touch it. I need to work on it. I need to do something. And a couple of years go by, and it eventually came to the point where I don't want to say I was in charge of his deal, but he pretty much, I was his right-hand man when it came to the two cars that he had with the Rolling Stone, and the other car was the Tweety's Rat. And Bob Toth drove that car back then. That's how I met Bob Toth originally. So that progressed into with me and Rossetti making the bodies. That's kind of what I got involved with too, is we started making the nostalgia funny car bodies together. And we made the Stranglehold Vega. We made the Funny Farmer Pinto. Those were two cars that I, made myself, worked on myself, the whole 9 yards, and, put the car together. And that's where it started. So, fast forward a little bit further, I, started working on these things, and I'm like, I want to drive one. I want to see what this is like. I did everything outside the car you can imagine, from building the motors to putting the clutches in, transmissions, etc. Those two cars had automatics, but I wanted to drive it. And he told me, he's like, well, if you want to drive one of these, you got to get your Super Comp license. And I said, okay. So I think it was about a day or two, I had everything scheduled to go to Hawley School at Maple Grove, and rain happened. So it kind of delayed some things, but fast forward, I got my Super Comp license, and I was like, well, I'm ready. And he was kind of not ready for me to be that ready that quick. So, things had to work out. He had booked in races, etc. And I, how do I say it? He gave me the opportunities when he could because of racing, and, obviously being new, never doing it. He wanted to be cautious on what we did. So the first chance I got to drive a funny car ever was the Funny Farmer Pinto at Maple Grove after a race he had booked in. And, never being in anything. I mean, that was really the first time I was going down the drag strip besides going down in the Super Comp cars in Hawley School. So I mean, for lack of a better word, I shit myself, and I wasn't prepared for it. I double stepped the throttle, and, his instructions to me were very explicit. If for any reason your foot comes off that throttle, you idle down the track. And I said, yes, sir. So I did that, idled down the track, shut it off, etc. And unfortunately, I never got another opportunity to drive that car for reasons other than the car blew up later after that, and not my fault. And just Bob decided he wanted to take a break for a little while. While that's all going on, of course, Bob Toth had stepped away from Rossetti and was driving for Rocky Perone. And with Rocky, you know, me and Bob, of course, have been racing since I started, which was 2010. And when Bob was racing and they needed extra help, he made a phone call and I'd be there. That's just, that's what we did. And Rocky gave me the opportunity. He said, hey, if you're looking for something to do, since Bob's taking a break, come help me, come hang out with me. And I said, okay. And he, we discussed some things and he's like, I'll give you an opportunity to get your license in my car. And I said, okay, well, not necessarily what's the catch, but what do I got to do? He said, nothing, just do what you normally do. And, come down and help with the shop and whatnot. And I said, okay. Well, that obviously progressed into me getting my license in the Super Camaro / Screaming Eagle. And, we discussed some more things. He's like, basically whoever gets to drive his second car is whoever shows up to the shop most and, puts in the most time. Well, that translated to me being there 3 days a week because I wanted to drive that car. And, I'm very thankful for Rocky. He's given me a lot and everybody that's helped me. But, and then, I got my license in that car and then he was like, well, do you want to try driving the Frantic Ford? And I was like, okay, the car's on nitro. It's going to be a little different. We go to Island and let's just say the first pass was a handful. Launched a car, I'm in the right lane. And I didn't realize there was as massive of a bump in the right lane as there was right when I needed to shift the car. And I shifted the car right at the bump, unloaded the rear end, and you probably couldn't fit a piece of paper between the headers and the right side wall, but I kept it off the wall and, that was that. But, while that's all going on, I decided to buy a big block Chevy injected on alcohol because I wanted to start playing with my own toy, and an opportunity came up for that. Never thinking that I'd ever own a car. Bought this car and was playing around with it here and there. And so I'm driving this car and I'm like, well, I want to go faster, obviously getting my advanced ET license. So I start collecting parts and putting together, it's going to be probably it would have been a low 6-second car, high helix retro, 1471. It was going to be a 570 cubic inch Hemi, with a pedal clutch. And because and a Lenko, my whole thought was I want to prepare myself for going into top alcohol. So I have this motor sitting in my laundry room ready to go. And basically I have everything to get done. I had brought the car down to Rossetti's and put it on his chassis jig to put motor plates in for a Hemi because the car was a big block. We did all the fire bottle, everything up, all the upgrades we had to do to make the car legal for 6.0. And, this is a Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday. I'm talking to Lou, my current partner and, really great friend, which I missed a whole section of my racing past with him in with all the stuff that was going on, but as well as Tom Fox. But that's, like I said, I don't know where I had all this time to do all this stuff. But long story short, with that, I'm talking to Lou. I said, listen, I'm ready to buy rods. I'm ready to buy pistons. Push rods. And, on Monday, this is on a Wednesday, the following Monday, I'm ready to purchase this stuff. And, that's it. I have everything to put the car together. It's going to still be the altar to get everything, checked out. And then I'm going to put a body on it. And I'm talking to him. He's like, well, if you want to go alcohol racing, you should go alcohol racing. I was like, well, I can't afford to do that yet. It's just, I figured this is a good stepping stone to get some experience and move my way up. And he's like, well, you're just wasting time and wasting money. So if that's what you want to do, that's what you should do. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And he's like, well, whatever. So this is Wednesday around, I forget, midday or so. And then I get a text from him later at night and there's some tequila involved and martinis involved on his end. But nonetheless, he's like, why don't you get Rossetti to put up some money? I'll put up some money. You sell all your stuff and we'll buy a car and we'll go real racing. And I'm like, Bob doesn't have any interest in alcohol racing. He's a nitro guy now. He helps the McIntyre guys on the Top Fuel car. And he's like, well, maybe we should do something. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? What's going on? He's like, let's sit down and talk. So Friday, 2 days later, we go out, we get some steaks. it's me, Lou, and Bob Toth actually at this time. And we're sitting down, and we each have a beer, and just we're friends regardless, so we're just talking about nothing. And then there's like this awkward pause, and I go, like it's my opportunity to like just, all right, what's going on? So I go, Lou, I was like, what's going on? What's going through your head? What are you thinking? And he literally looks at me and he goes, I'm done thinking. And I'm like, oh boy, well, what does this mean? He's like, you bring me a car, I'll put a motor in it. And I'm like, done. So that night, everything I owned went up for sale, and got enough money together, through some friends, whatnot, found out that Andy Bull was selling his car. I flew out to Andy and in Wisconsin, sat in the car, made a deal, and flew home. This was like on I think it was a Thursday. I literally flew out in the morning and I was home that night, the same day. I think I was at his place for a total of like 3 or 4 hours, and we made a deal. And then it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, I ended up going out there and buying his car and trailer.
Wow.
And yeah, it's the rest is there. So now we have a pretty nice looking car, thanks to Jeff Davis and Jeff Zallis over at Specialty Autocraft. They meeting them, painting obviously the Super Camaro and the Frantic Ford. We became friends, and once I hit some cones the first year in Charlotte, I damaged up the real nice red paint job that Andy had on the car, and I wanted to get it fixed. And the whole idea was, well, I'm just going to add some accents to break it up. It doesn't need to be repainted. It's still a good looking car. And I dropped the car off over at Jeff, and he's like, so you sure you want to still keep it red? and now it's blue. So, and it's blue because my daughter loves the color blue, and she's like, Daddy, your car needs to be blue. So yeah,
Cool.
that's the short version of the story, despite how long that was. Like I said, there's some stuff. I raced with Lou Scrow, my partner, for 3 years in 2011, 12, I think it was. And then he decided he wanted to get out of racing. And then after that, in the interim of helping Rocky and everybody else, I went and crewed with Tom Fox on his alcohol dragster. So, being young and stupid, I guess is the word, maybe. Nostalgia racing was a lot of fun. It still is a lot of fun, but I'm very competitive as a young guy. And there's, with match racing, I don't want to say it's not competitive because everybody wants to win. It's just, it missed something that when I got the tease with helping Lou and helping Tom working, going at the real deal, I missed that. And that's what I was striving for. So I'm very blessed and lucky, and somehow, I'm here doing it, but I'm trying to do it as much as I can. And I'm going to try to do it as long as I can, for the rest of my life. I think I don't really have any ambition or any desire to stop anytime soon.
Cool.
So as in match racing, meaning as in like dial-in stuff?
Well, match racing is with the Nostalgia Funny cars, it's a booked in show. They'll book in, anywhere from 2 to, it could be 16 cars, 8 cars of Nostalgia Funny cars. And you just go up there and you run, you run what you are, all out. And, certain races, there was a 7.0 cap at the time. If you ran faster than that, it was, you didn't count. You were DNQ'd with that run. But for the most part, the cars ran what they ran. And you're not running on the best prep tracks there are in the world. Like, you're not going out to Maple Grove with big show fuel prep. It's these smaller tracks that are trying to put on a little nostalgia show and whatnot. And, so there was always that variable because the cars were still pretty powerful. They're still probably making 1,800, 2,000 horsepower, and, they're glorified lawnmowers with their magneto and mechanical fuel pump. So, they're going to run until they run out of fuel, or they melt down, or you kill them. So, they still made some decent power. And, with a lot of these tracks, there was no track. So, there was a lot of skill involved with the guys at the time, knowing how to control a car, probably pretty close to what modern day no prep is for a car, and that sort of thing. But I never did the no prep thing, so I'm not sure.
But like the power management is ideal. The power management is where it all was.
The tire management for us was, what do you want the pressure at? 6? Okay. Good luck. Let's see what happens.
No traction control, no nothing like these guys.
No, these things are as, the cars Rossetti had when I was early on. Those are as period correct as they go. A lot of these guys that are out now, and for good reason, safety, 125-inch cars makes a big difference, just like what I drive. But what Rossetti had, they're 116-inch wheelbase. And, that's a big difference when it comes to controllability at 180 miles an hour. And those cars had front suspensions. They actually had torsion arms in the front. So it was those cars were, as period correct as they come. There was no tack on them. There was no shift light. There was no nothing. I mean, it had a trans brake for, just because, but that's the only reason there was a little 12-volt battery on there was a trans brake, because he ran power glides. There's less maintenance. And
Right.
with the lack of power, I want to say, for the way those transmissions were built, they pretty much run forever unless you did something stupid. So, it was about going out there, and you got paid to make some laps and have some fun. And, I don't know exactly what everybody got paid and what everybody gets paid now, but that it's about putting on a show. You go out there, you do a big burnout, you back up, you do some dry hops. Sometimes guys would do dry leaves, like the old school days, and, you run the car, and that's about it. You have some fun with it. That was the whole idea. And like I said, it is a lot of fun. There's no pressure. There's no, you have to run anything. I mean, anything can happen. It's a race car, but you could still go up there and smoke the tires or whatever the case is, but you obviously want to make a decent pass. It's just, you run what you have, and you have fun with it. And if the fans are happy, the man that's paying you is happy. So
yeah, it's just not as competitive as what you're looking for.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I love that competition. And, with the top alcohol stuff now, everybody in the group has just been awesome. I'm the new guy, so to speak, and I don't think anybody's come out new after me that I can think of at the top of my head. But, I mean, everybody that I've ended up lining up against and whatnot, it's just been a great group of guys, in the staging lanes, in the pits, we're racers, and you want to see everybody do well, but as soon as you line up next to them, all bets are off. You do what you can. So
Man, I hope he blows the tires off.
yeah, well, hey, it's one of those things where anything can happen, and they say don't bet on a drag race.
Yeah.
So of all the nostalgia cars that you got the chance to drive,
Mhm.
which one was your favorite?
So I was driving Rocky Perone's the Super Camaro. That has great visibility and whatnot. That I love that car because I got my license in it, and I learned a lot in that car. I love it because it's fast. I love it because it's very comfortable, and it's what I'm used to. So I would say that's my favorite car. Now, my favorite experience would probably be the opportunity I got to drive the Time Bomb up at Lebanon Valley. Bob Toth was sick in the hospital bed, or not hospital, in the hotel room. He couldn't get out of bed. He was hurting, whatever. He got flu, something happened. I don't exactly remember, but I'm used to doing dry hops and burnouts in the Super Camaro. So, and when they do dry hops, it's kind of lazy. I don't want to use the word lazy, but it's, for lack of it's not as violent as the Time Bomb. So the first time I go up there, and I never drove the car before, but I've worked on that car and been around it a long time. I go up there and I'm like, all right. And there, Rocky Roxlow, God bless him. He was still alive then. He looks at me and he's like, gives me for doing a dry hop. And I do a dry hop, and the roll cage hits me in the back of the head because that car just planted me and just hit me. Like I literally remember grabbing the brake and stopping and going, what was that? And that was probably the coolest experience I had driving the nostalgia cars. But, as far as favorite car to drive, I would definitely say it's the Super Camaro. That car, I have a lot of seat time in that car. I'm very comfortable in that car.
How about the short wheelbase that is the Funny Farmer?
So, like I said, I didn't really I only got to make one hit in that car. And I before we started, I was talking about the pollen at ACO when we were trying to license. And that's when I was supposed to make some more runs, but we couldn't do it because of the pollen. So that's, I don't really have, I mean, it was one time. I mean, it was pretty cool because, I've worked on that car and built that car from the ground up with Bob, and, from putting the chassis together and, the whole 9 yards, putting the body together, making the body. So I have a lot of sentimental value to that car itself because it is the first car that I built from, with him like that. And, very proud of that car. That car came out of the mold, I think, at 68 pounds. We tried some stuff, and that whole body is really, really light. That was the very first carbon car we ever made. And, it actually is carbon and Kevlar, but that car is pretty cool for what it is.
What's your car weigh?
116 car?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Was that a 116-inch car?
Yes, the Funny Farmer was 116 inches.
So Scotty, if you've ever seen the Funny Farmer, it's a Pinto body, and it's not really a whole lot longer than a normal Pinto is.
Yeah.
And it's insane to look at it and go, somebody's going to drive that thing down the track at 160, 100 plus miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking car. It really is.
And like I said, that car is as bare bones as it gets. There's no electronics on it whatsoever except for the trans brake.
Yep.
It's got a kill switch that's mechanical. That's it. 8 plug wires.
Wow.
So you were asking me something, Scotty? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What do one of those weigh out at fully dressed?
The nostalgia cars or the top alcohol cars?
Both. Just curious.
So you're talking about like race ready, like going down the track. So if
it's scaled out with you in it.
The Funny Farmer, I think, was 1,850 pounds with the driver. It was something ridiculous. That car is just absolutely light and ridiculous.
Oh my God.
My car, the alcohol car, we're required to be 2,300 no less at the end of the run. So nostalgia racing, there's really no.
So it's after the end of the run, including fuel.
Correct.
Okay.
And so in nostalgia racing, they don't, it's again match racing. There's really no rules except for, they don't want a lot of the guys that do the bookings there. They don't want Pro 44 mags. They want Mallory or points mags and whatnot.
Right.
Something that was relative back then. And I go back to the Funny Farmer. That's a great car. You could take a picture of that, do it in black and white, and put it up next to cars from the 70s. You wouldn't tell a difference. You wouldn't know that car is brand new.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Wait.
Yeah. Look who's here, Pete.
Wait a minute.
Oh, there you go. I see him.
Why do you look so far away?
Dude, you believe me, the fact that I'm even up here is a miracle. Computer crashed. iPad wasn't set up for Zoom. Yeah.
Looks
Good
like
time.
you're on your phone.
We'll blame it on COVID.
What's that?
Blame it on COVID.
I'm going to blame it on Scott. Oh, I can't. Scott's here. Never mind.
You blame it on Paul. Right.
So, obviously, Pete coming in a little late, which is fine, whatever. Pete, this is Brian Gawlik. Brian, this is my other partner, Pete Sanka. Pete runs Division 1, .90. He runs mostly Super Street and occasionally Super Gas.
Okay.
So
How are you,
That's
Brian?
what the-
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to
That's
meet
what
you.
the .90 stuff is. When you said you don't know what the .90 stuff is.
Yeah.
Ask Pete.
So I gave him the 12-second introduction to .90 racing before we went on, Pete. So
He
don't
fell
worry.
asleep really quick, but I woke him up.
Boring to watch, fun to do.
Yeah.
Listen, I made a lot of jumps early. I kind of fell into nostalgia funny car real quick, and I skipped all the other classes altogether. I just, I guess once you go with a funny car, you don't go back. I mean,
I would say that's a pretty safe assumption. Yeah.
Although, Brian, I'd love to see your take on driving like, for instance, you've been in a funny car, you've gone, 250, 260 mile an hour. To do it like in a radial car, like my buddy Kenny had a Corvette, like a ZR1 Corvette, Pro line motor.
right.
On a 315 radio it broke the radio record. It went, I think, 565 at 256.
That's
Like to see the difference between, have you ever tried that or wondered like the difference between a door car versus like dragster? I know like people like Stevie Fast that run Pro Mod, they want to get in dragster. And then vice versa, do guys in dragsters wondering, because some of those guys in dragsters say you're crazy as hell to be in a door car going that fast.
I kind of have this. I love to drive. I'll drive anything if I have the opportunity to. Obviously within reason, but I've always wondered. I always said the Pro Mod guys are nuts.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't want to try it.
Right,
I just
right.
see what it's like. It's everything about. Just I love learning. I have a big issue with learning. I always want to learn as much as I can early on about anything and everything, not even drag racing. So, I try to put a lot of effort into everything I do. But when it comes to driving, I always wondered, is like, I skipped a lot of levels. What's it like to drive a door car? My first trip down the drag strip was in Frank Hawley's dragster. I've never been down the drag strip in anything but a race car. So I never even took like a street car down. I just completely jumped ship, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but maybe I didn't learn any bad habits, or I didn't have the proper, does it matter? I don't know. But yeah, I've always wondered what it'd be like to drive a pro mod, even a pro stock car. I'm all about difficult things. I don't like anything being easy. And, I think like a pro stock car would be fun because, everything with the starting line procedure is very, critical, and you got to hit all your shifts. We only have, yes, we have to hit our launch RPM and our foot swap needs to be right, but we have 2 shifts that have to be correct. They got 5 or 6 or whatever they have. So, everything about that has always intrigued me. But this whole new no prep or even just a radial tire stuff where, they're going almost just as fast as I am on a tire half as wide. I always thought that was cool. And, that would be a hell of an opportunity, let me tell you.
Now,
Well, whenever you're ready to swap cars, you let me know.
And whenever you're at the
Take
valley, right?
You
exactly.
can take my badass car for a lap, and I guess I could putter yours down the track, whatever.
No, Brian, I'll put you in my radio car. I'll let you take it down the track for a quarter mile. I mean, it won't make the quarter mile. It's geared for the 8th, but
I gotcha.
yeah, it's as long as you're okay with. Pete makes fun of the way our cars bump in, the turbo guys. So,
and that's the other thing. Obviously, I'm used to a pedal clutch, and and I've driven power glides, and using a trans brake and all that. But seeing videos, and I've never been in a car, of course, a turbo car where you bump in and it's banging off the 2-step and all that.
It's so sick.
It looks cool. It's different, and I always thought, I was like, man, I wonder what that's like as a driver. What does that feel like to just get railed into the beams, the way it looks?
Ask Pete when he sat in my car for the first time as a turbo car and put it on the 2-step, right, Pete?
That was cool.
He thought the rods were going to kick out the side of the motor.
It's a cross between an airplane landing right next to you and a bomb getting ready to go off.
Yeah.
The best way to describe it.
It's, I before I drove this Top Alcohol car, I never drove a pedal clutch before. So when I driving Rocky's cars and, the nostalgia cars, everything left from an idle. Or he would tell me, hey, you can roll into the RPM a little bit up against the pedal, the Crowler glide, and just hold the clutch pedal down and kind of leave swapping feet. But, basically left from an idle. Going into the alcohol car now, and I'm launching this car around 7,200 RPM, it's just like, whoa, this is loud. Like everything's different. It's not quiet at an idle when you're just sitting there. You bring those R's up and, it gets your attention, and, it's definitely a lot of fun.
Could you explain?
And am I right in saying that you say you leave at 7,200?
Yes, sir.
That's very critical, correct?
Yeah. So, and I'm not going to lie, I'm still pretty new to what I'm doing in that. And we've been having some issues with the car, and I've been making some mistakes here and there. I'm not ashamed to say it, but we're trying to figure some stuff out. And, my foot swap last year was not really up to par. When I was setting the RPM at 6,500 RPM, when I would swap feet, the car was moving at 72. And that's explain that for a lot of guys.
Could you explain that just for some of us that are pretty, don't understand this aspect of racing?
So
2 different clutches and then what swapping feet means.
Okay. So the 2 different clutches, Crowler glide, think of your pit bike, little moped. When you bring the RPMs up on it, it starts moving. Yeah. Same concept as a Crowler glide in, or a slipper clutch. So then you go to a pedal clutch. It's like your daily driver that's manual transmission.
Okay.
You take your foot off the clutch and the car moves. So in my car, I have a pedal clutch, and I'll bring the RPMs up. We'll go to Gainesville this year, beginning of the year. And even last year, we wanted the car to leave at 7,200 RPM. So when I go to swap, I bring the RPMs up, I'm holding the brake, I'm holding the clutch down, and it still wants to drive me through because there is centrifugal weight on that clutch as well that wants to start moving the car.
Okay.
And if I let go of the brake even a little bit, it'll start creeping and I'll red light. Now, my foot swap was slow. My gas pedal was faster than my clutch foot. Right, my right foot was faster.
Okay.
So I was hitting the gas too. I don't want to say too early, but my clutch foot was not coming off fast enough. So we wanted the car to leave at 7,200 RPM. So I was staging at 65, 66. And when I would swap feet, the car would start moving at 72 because that's the way my feet were moving. Fast forward to Charlotte, and I launched the car at 65. The car moved 65. For whatever reason, my legs fixed themselves. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know why. So, okay, we go up there, we run a 574, and we made a transmission ratio change. And, we're trying to make, speed the car up and figure some stuff out. And we've been getting some advice from other racers that have been very helpful to us. So we go up there again. He's like, all right, well, leave at 73. So I go up there and I leave at I'm a little low. I leave at 71 and the car leaves at 71. I'm like, all right, my legs are working. This is good. And then we start looking at the data and we're like, last time we were here, my foot swap sucked and I was leaving at 77. So we're like, all right, what do we do? So we started making some changes and unfortunately, in eliminations 3, we made some changes down low for power to try to get the car to pick up a little bit, and it worked. We ended up qualifying with a 563, I think it was 563, 258. So we were back where we needed to be from before with the changes that we made, but my foot swap was still dead on. So I'm hoping that I can continue keeping my legs working right. I don't know. I don't really know why they decided to start working, but as long as it's difficult.
Pete, are you laughing at this as much as I am?
See, you guys hold a book, right?
I don't want everyone in the world to hate me, but all I want to say to you is, Scott, there's still hope, buddy.
There's no, like, what the fuck? Wait, Brian probably doesn't know though.
Yeah,
Brian, I drive with hand controls. I'm paralyzed.
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So when you talk about foot swap and my feet are working right,
My feet are working right.
I'm screwed.
I had no idea.
No,
I've only seen you from here up so far.
I
This is the first time I met you, so I literally had no idea.
God. I know.
Great.
I know Pete's thinking the same freaking thing.
Oh,
That
God.
was awesome.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I mean, like I said, in reality, though, driver error, that's what makes the alcohol car very hard to drive because everything is controlled by the driver. We're not allowed to have any computer controls.
So there's no like 2 steps or nothing like that.
No,
That's the reason why I asked him the question, because when he says he's trying to leave the line at 65 or 72, he's literally holding the gas pedal there.
Yes.
He doesn't have a rev limiter that he can bounce off of.
So you're holding the gas pedal there, and you have to actually floor it and deep and release the clutch at the same time.
Yeah. So I could go through the whole staging procedure, but basically the simple version of it is, you go in and everybody pre-stages. And then, we have the 7 seconds once the first person goes in. But the respectful thing is you whack the throttle to let the other guy know, hey, you're ready, let's go. And then he does the same thing. Sometimes you whack the throttle at the exact same time. And you're like, well, I think he did, but
Did he do it?
Yeah. Go. And you try to be respectful because it's not an easy thing. So I grab the brake as hard as I can, and
Is the brake the lever that's like right here? You see them push forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
So some guys push forward for brakes. Ours are pulled.
Some pull.
Okay. I knew it was something like, okay, good. Okay.
So I'm wrenching on the brake as hard as I can. And, I bring the RPMs up and I'm staring at my shift light / tack right in front of me. And, mine's got a digital readout on mine, which is pretty nice actually. And I look at the RPMs and I'm like, all right, I got to roll in a little bit more or back off. And I get my RPM and I don't worry about where I'm at as far as the tree goes until my RPMs are set. And then I look up and I just ease off the brake like ever so slightly, because any more than a little bit, it's rolling through hard.
All right, so
I'm holding
that's
car
okay.
back.
So you're engaged on the gas and the clutch. You're just using that handbrake to get you into
Yes.
to your stage. Okay.
Right. And as soon as I see any sort of yellow, reaction to I stare at the first bulb just below the stage bulbs. But as soon as I see any sort of filament change, it's release the brake, swap feet, and grab the steering wheel and hold on. And, once she starts getting going, it's probably about, I'm going to say 200 or 300 feet out. Obviously you can't look at the shift light. I mean, these cars, if you're looking at anything but the end of the track,
you're in trouble. Yeah.
So, and my shift light's very bright. So just staring down track and just waiting for that shift light to come on. And as soon as it comes on, hit the shift. And then as soon as the next one comes on, hit the shift. And, about 1,000 foot, I'll start bringing my hand over to the parachutes and deploy the parachutes about, as close to the finish line as I can. And then, reverse foot swap and grab the brake and, make sure the fuel goes off and, the whole 9 yards, to slow down. But we're not allowed to have any sort of computer controlled input on how that car runs. The only thing the computer can do is monitor everything. Now, we are allowed a timing retard with Dave Leahy's electromotion stuff.
Oh, so for off, so like off the hit, you can use the timing.
When I swap feet, I can pull, you know, I'm not allowed to give it any more timing than it has initially, but I am allowed to take out as much timing as I want. So
Okay.
in reality, if you want to give it more timing at the top end, you could set the car with 30 degrees starting or whatever it is. And then as soon as you start the car, it can immediately pull that timing away, you know, from the startup. There's a lot of things you can do. Now, back to the staging RPM, there is some guys out there that came up with a mechanical detent that hangs off of the throttle lever on the side of the injector. And it's actually nothing more than a smooth rod with a ring cut in it. And guys will put an R pin with a zip tie. And it'll feel like a detent when you roll into the throttle, like you're hitting a stop. And whatever that is the RPM that you're going to leave at. And then when you swap feet, you just push through it. And, you know, you're allowed to run one of those. But the problem I see with that is you could go up there and have it set. And if you don't know how much of a rotation to adjust that will affect your RPM, because you could be sitting in the lanes and everybody goes up there and starts smoking the tires. And yeah, you could go in the computer box and make changes and do different things. But if you want to change your RPM leave, you know, at a moment's notice, and that's set, you're kind of stuck with it. So, you know, and Lou actually made me, you know, we talked about that when we put the car together. I said, well, should we do that since it's new and, you know, I'm new and it'll help me at least get the RPM. And he said, no, you need to learn to drive this car the way it was meant to be. No Band-Aids, no nothing. So, and, you know, I'm grateful for that because it definitely brings you more in tune with the car because, you know, when I'm in there and it's running, it's all in me, you know, it's going to run as long as I keep it, you know, lit. So.
So what's your schedule looking like for the rest of this year?
What is today? Monday? I leave Wednesday night for Maple. We have our regional event at Maple Grove this weekend.
Yep.
Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, the weather pulls through for us a little bit. They got a little bit of rain on Friday, but then again, it's Maple Grove. They call for rain. It'll be sunny. So who knows? But we got Maple Grove. I am going to go up to Lebanon Valley, which is, I think, 2 weeks after Maple. I could be wrong on that.
It's the 18th through the 18th through the 9th through the 20th, excuse me.
That makes sense. And then the weekend after that is Norwalk National. So we plan on running that. We plan on running the second Charlotte National, the Maple Grove National. If ACO has the points race, we'll be there. The Virginia points race at the end of the year. And we are looking like we're going to be going to Indy as well because we went last year and figured, you know,
Nice.
why not? So including this weekend coming up, we have 9 more races on the schedule.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, I mean, no doubt about it. It's a lot of money, but you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it to my best of my ability, and I'm going to try to do it as long as I can.
Yes. I know some of the alcohol guys do book-in shows, you know, like Jet Cars Under the Stars, stuff like that. Is that something that you've thought about doing, or what?
I would absolutely do that if somebody approached me about it. It's not out of the question. You know, obviously that stuff is booked in, and you know that you get paid to make runs. And really, when I look at it, it's paid seat time. You know, the only way you're going to get better in these cars, and that's the way I looked at it too, is I want to be the best I can, and the only way you can get better is behind the wheel. And
Right.
if I'm not making laps, I'm not going to get any better. So that's the whole idea. I want to make as many hits as I can, you know, in a short amount of time, which will obviously help me improve and, you know, move forward, because, you know, that's the idea. I had this mindset going into the first year. Well, you know, I am low budget, and, you know, I got to be smart. And, you know, if there's a low qualifying field, I make one hit, whatever it does, I'm in and done. No more qualifiers. Now we're at the point where it's like, we want to improve. We want to go faster. We want to, you know, start learning more. And the best way is to make more hits at the same track, because the data is relevant. You know, going from track to track, it's like you have to start over, and it's hard, you know, and a lot of these times too, these races are a month and a half apart for us. So it's more beneficial for me to make every qualifier than it is for me to go testing and make 2 laps somewhere else after that race. So and if we have questions and we're struggling, like I said, a bunch of the racers have been very helpful, specifically DJ Cox. He's been a very big help with us and what we've been trying to do. He actually came out last year at the end of the year to ACA with us to make some test runs. So, and we learned a lot in a very short amount of time. I mean, that guy there's a reason why that guy is, I mean, he's the top 3 in the country right now in my book. So, he's the one to beat.
How about your sponsors?
So I have, as I mentioned before, Specialty Autocraft, they painted the car for me last year, and Jeff Davis and his son-in-law, Jeff Salas, they did a phenomenal job. The car is beautiful. Growing up with the nostalgia stuff, and I say growing up, starting my racing stuff, everything was painted. There's no wraps in nostalgia racing, and not saying that wraps don't have their place. They do. I didn't want to wrap on my car. I was big into the paint thing, and yeah, it's weight and this and that, and you can't change it easily, but just something about having your car painted. I thought it was cool, and I wanted that. There's a bunch of guys that have their cars painted versus wrapped, and again, everybody has reasons for whatnot, but Jeff have been a big help with that. I owe them a lot for that one. Other sponsor, Rex Equipment, they're up here in Schnecksville, Pennsylvania. Kenny Rex, he used to help Lou with his alcohol funny car, became friends with him back then, and where I work now, I do a lot of business with him, and we've become friends. And he was one of the first people I called when I said, hey, listen, me and Lou are looking to do this again, except I'm driving. He's like, cool, what can I do? So Kenny, he's a big help. Molly Motorsports, Molly actually approached me first year racing, and we've been doing some testing for them, and Molly with Clevite and whatnot, and Molly has wanted to get into the alcohol world with pistons, and we made some did some talking and whatnot, and we've had a great relationship with Molly. They've been helping us out since the COVID year. I mean, unfortunately, that was supposed to be a much better year than what it was, but Molly's been a big help with a lot of things. And unfortunately, their restrictions didn't allow them to hang out with us. Their work restrictions allow them to hang out with us down in Charlotte. Hoping the later Charlotte race, things are lifted and we can hang out. Gentleman by the name of Brandon, he's a really smart dude when it comes to pistons down there. He's in the engineering department, and he's just been nothing but great help for us. So, sponsors, the smaller people, as I said before, every little bit helps. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small, but the little guys like Steve Musser, he's helped me with stuff here and there. Tom Fox, a lot of information and just things when I need something in a pinch. Tom's always been there for me. So the relationships I've had in the past have helped me a lot. With when I'm in need. I can't afford to have the trailer that has all the parts in it, so everything, and you can imagine. So if I need something and I know somebody else could help me, I'll ask them, and everybody's been awesome. Tom especially for that. We were in Virginia last year and we almost dropped the valve, and he's like, whatever you need, it's in my trailer, it's yours. So it's grateful. They're not quote sponsors, but they're sponsors, if you know what I mean. Like they're just as important as everyone.
They're friends, yeah.
That's the best part about alcohol racing. You look at a lot of different racing out there, and it's like people will sabotage you to win. When it comes to alcohol racing, everybody wants to go and have fun. And yes, it's at a very serious level, but I mean, whatever you can do to go racing, it's they'll do it to make sure that you can make that run. It's a very tight-knit group of people that want to have fun, and racing is racing. If there's nobody on the other lane, what fun is that, regardless? So
they want to beat you on the track, not on the pits.
Yeah, that's the way to win. And I would be the same way. I mean, if I was in the ability to help somebody with whatever it is, if I had it and they needed it and I was out, absolutely. That's what you got to do, because
Very cool.
And I wouldn't do that for any other reason other than that's just what we do. We were out here to have fun, and say I handed somebody my clutch because they needed something or whatever the case is, and they go on and win the race. I had a small part in their success, you know, and that's cool. And I don't want no recognition for it whatsoever, just because, you know, hey, good for them. That's the way it is.
That's awesome. Well, Brian, it was awesome talking to you tonight. Definitely enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. It's always fun to talk about, you know, people that you know that I know. I know Tom, I know Steve and Bobby and those guys. And, you know, like you said, great group of people. And, you know, you've got good success so far, you know, starting out with your own gig, and you got nowhere to go, my man, but up. And you seem to be, you know, you're on the right track.
No, I appreciate that. I do want to mention, I would shout out to my crew and my, you know, Tom Savage. He came back on with me this year. Tom, I actually thought Tom, like, you know, dropped off the face of this earth. We went to tech school together, and when we first got involved in racing, it was me, him, and two other kids that Rossetti picked up, and we started racing together early on with Rossetti, and then he moved back to Ohio, and I was working on Lou's top alcohol car. Tom ended up working on John Bojack's car and helping some other people, Randy Meyer, and then all of a sudden he just like disappeared, and I was like, oh man, what happened? And then, you know, at the beginning of this year, he came back on Facebook, and I'm like, dude, I've been looking for you. I need help. And he was like, absolutely. And, you know, it's, in fact, we were texting a little bit ago. You know, he'll be coming out Thursday after work for Maple, but I mean, he's been a lot of help. Bob Toth, he helps me with my car when he's not doing the time bomb. You know, my father helped me last year and the year before that. You know, he's doing his own stuff this year. You know, again, I grew up on cars, and he's into Corvettes and whatnot. So he's got his own place and playing with his own stuff. So, you know, more power to him. But you know, and then Lou, you know, without Lou, I wouldn't be here. You know, it's the biggest issue that I think some drivers have is, you know, they're in charge of everything. And when they're in the car, if they don't trust the guys outside the car, they shouldn't be driving it, because their mind's not clear and they're not focused on what they need to do. When I get in that car, I think about nothing but driving, period. I literally forget about everything. It's like I trust Lou more than I trust myself. And I know that he wouldn't let that car leave the garage to go to a race if it wasn't for, you know, if it wasn't ready and if it wasn't right. So when we go, we're prepared. And, you know, I know that, you know, and not that I would bring it not knowing, you know, or bring it an unsafe car, because it's not what I mean, but it's just, I know that I can completely put my life in his hands with no remorse, no second thoughts whatsoever.
Very cool. Well, Brian, it was awesome talking to you, and be sure to come over and, you know, shake your hand at Lebanon Valley, and then maybe New England Dragway if you're there for that divisional as well.
Yep, I will. Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I'll be up there for that as well.
All right, cool. Well, Brian Gawlik, our guest for tonight, thank you very much for hanging out with us for a little while. It was an awesome conversation. And again, best of luck this year, my man.
I appreciate it. And Scott, I'm gonna hold your word to that car, right?
Dude, I'll let you take it for a rip.
That sounds fun.
All right, buddy.
Hey, be safe. Pleasure meeting you.
Take care now.
All right.
Pleasure meeting you, Brian. Take care, bud.
Have a good night, Brian. All right. Awesome conversation.
Are we still live? Or are we?
Yeah, you're still live. Yeah, you can take off if you want to, or you can hang out, listen to Scott talk about his
Or you
race.
can mute, but listen to me talk about my race.
Oh, okay. I'll listen. I'm not going to do nothing right now. My kids.
All right, cool.
But
Go ahead, Scotty. Your race this weekend, at Lebanon Valley.
Manny Bojinga just sent me a text and said, "Tell him if he wants, I'll give him the back tire."
That ain't right. That ain't right.
In his 275 radio car.
do I see a match race coming up soon?
Now that would be entertainment at Lebanon Valley, would it not, Pete? A match race.
Yes, it was.
Top alcohol dragster against but he runs 8th mile, so I don't know, that'd be different. So
I think my best was 208, 254 or 354 in the 8th. So
that'd be a good race. I mean, he's been 360.
yeah, so we'll be right there. I mean, it's
wow.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's your 60 foot?
My best 60 foot was 941.
Yeah, I think he's 960. I think
it's relative though. He's bringing the power in a little bit different. Than I am, so.
Yeah, he does. So guys, so we had our race this weekend, as you guys know. Pete, you know, we had our No Time No Rules event this weekend at Lebanon Valley. We had a test session Friday night. The test session was, we had 83 cars show up for the test session. Basically ran it like a 2-day event. So the testing was Friday, and then Saturday morning you got one hit, and then we went in eliminations. We had 650 index, big tire and small tire. 650 index, I was surprised. We got like 34 cars, so we got a full field. The small tire, we got 36 cars, so more than a full field. And it was an all-run field. And then big tire, I think, got 28, I think, or 29, almost a full field. The 650 was absolutely amazing. Rachel Jewell, who's up from the Rochester area, she qualified first with a 651. Now, last year she drives like a radial car that goes, she's been 14s. So here she was driving a 650 index car class. She went 651 number one qualifier. The winner was Chris Scarlata. He's also from the Rochester area. So he came in first. He won the $1,800 for first place. Second place paid out $1,200. I forget the guy who came in second. Small tire was awesome. 36 cars. And I mean, Manny brought Fred. He pulled in his, his big hauler. And then we had Mo Alfaki, who is also from Rochester area. I've never seen small tire racing at that level at Lebanon Valley. And that's what I was really proud. I was really proud of it. It was, you had 36 cars that were all competitive, running, and it's a no time event. But if I had to guess, running from say bottom 4 O's somewhere, 14s to, 5-0, you know what I mean? The track prep was unbelievable. It was not radial prep. It was more like slick tire prep. So these radial cars, it wasn't going to really take your shoe off, but it was pretty gummy. Manny won the event. He took home like $4,400, I think, for first place. Paid 20 something hundred for second. And then we actually paid third and fourth for semis. We gave them $250, kind of pays their entry fee and stuff, kind of gives them, we all do this. We all put a lot of money into this, to just pay the winner. I didn't want to do that. So I paid out 4 places. Big tire was Carmen, I always pronounce his last name wrong, Damiani. So he runs the No Prep Kings that you see on TV and stuff. So he runs No Prep Kings and he competes in the point series. He came up to run big tire. He won big tire. The car that he was going to race in the semifinals, which would have been a really good race, was a guy from Australia who had like a orange coupe with a big block with 3 kits on it. It would have been a great race, but he couldn't get the car started. Battery wasn't charged enough. It was down on voltage. So he took home first place, which paid him almost $4,000 also. The event was unbelievable. I never thought that I would. Ralph and I worked for Ralph's my partner in the event. We worked for the last 9 months trying to create this event. And I never thought I'd be at an event that was ours that would have people like Jamie Miller, Patrick Barnhill, and Eric LaFerriere. Now, these are three of the best tuners in the world that tune these radio cars, all at Lebanon Valley for this event. I mean, I would never, ever think that would happen. So we've had a lot of positive feedback, sold out on all of our shirts, sold out all of our hats. We had 1,700 spectators. Like it was bigger than I could have ever imagined. Ralph and I just sat there and hugged each other at the end of the event. And we were like, we couldn't believe obviously there's some things that happen, that you can fix and work on. I think that's every event. I don't know, Pete or Chris, every event I think can always have something that you can improve on every time. You got to do what's best and try to do this. Just pour your heart and soul into it and do the best you can for the racers. So, Ralph and I we worked our asses off for 2 days straight. And all the time before we invested money and time, and to be able to come out of there and have literally nothing have to come out of our pockets, I guess, you know what I mean? And everything be covered by everything we did. We couldn't be happier. We want to thank Wayne at the track and Howard and Jen, who works the front gate at Lebanon Valley. Like they helped us so much with everything. And then the racers, you know, to have people like Manny and Carmen and Randy Jewell and all these guys that we know that are these big time racers to say, you know what, dude, it was a really good event. There's always stuff you can improve on, but you know, we loved being here. It was awesome. At the end of the day, I basically, you know, it was my first time driving and going up with the RVP, as you know, like to be able to just stay at the track and just sit back and relax after the whole event is done with everybody's just hanging out and just chill out and really think about what we just accomplished. It was pretty awesome. So
Very
I'm just
cool.
I'm glad you guys got good feedback, Pete. So that's good. I'm glad.
So if you don't mind, if I could steal the mic for a quick minute. First of all, the runner up in 650 is a Lebanon Valley regular.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Grant Nichols.
you.
Yeah. He is a killer. Absolute killer.
Awesome dude.
Yeah. Great guy. He's the one that when I was having trouble staging my car because the front end was too low and it was messing with the pre-stage beam. After I lost to him because I couldn't stage the car, he came over to my pits that afternoon and he goes, I got a way to tell you what it is. And I said, yeah, what's that? And he takes his friggin' cowboy boot off and he's shoving it under the front of my car. And he's like, I'm telling you, if this boot clears, it'll be okay. And he's like, no, see this? My boot's hitting right here. That's what it is. And he knows that track and those beams so well. He was spot on. And I raised the car up about 1.5 inches and I was good to go. Second thing is, did you announce the winner of Big Tire?
Yes, Carmen Damiani.
Okay. And
He owns Red Alert.
so he has the red coupe.
The one that you saw at the track the week before.
The week before, right. Well,
Yeah.
Wicked fast car. Good God.
Ridiculous.
That car's
Yes.
fast. So 3 pretty substantial races happened this weekend locally. Up at Numidia Dragway, they had Numidia 150. I do know that Lenny Butcher won the big race in his Monza. I don't have any other info for that, but I will definitely have that for next week. Rob Keister's race, self-explanatory. I mean, he had one of the biggest, if not the biggest draw he ever had. Chris is holding up something. What's that, buddy?
200.
That was all the winners from this past weekend at the Dave Stein Memorial Race.
Gotcha.
We
So-
hit that earlier, yeah.
Yeah. So Rob's race, I mean, hats off to him. Absolutely killer job. And then your race, which I called you earlier or text you earlier to tell you how proud I was of you.
Yeah, don't tell anybody that. I mean, don't let that get out.
People are going to think we like each other. So, but honestly, two things that I want to stress. Number one is drag racing is not dead, guys. We had 3 events relatively close to each other, location wise. All of them had packed houses. All of them put on fantastic shows, all different kinds of racing. I mean, with the exception of seeing a Top Fuel dragster or funny car, any kind of racing you wanted to see this weekend, you could drive 2 or 3 hours in any direction and you could check out whatever you want.
Right.
And the other thing is, like I said earlier, Scotty, you know, you and I have known each other for about 200 years. We've seen what we're all capable of. You know, you see me work in my shop, my business, teaching, whatever. I've seen you selling parts and getting all excited for your car and all that stuff. And I got to tell you, buddy, hats off to you and Ralph. You guys made me so proud. Just hearing what people are saying about the race. Unfortunately, I couldn't go up on Saturday. I already had a commitment.
Yep.
My son went up. He watched it. He loved it. The regulars at Lebanon Valley are raving about how good it is. Looking through the pictures, the banners, the clipboards where you put the ladders. I mean,
That's all Ralph. That's all Ralph.
So
Unbelievable.
So faithfully done. And I got to tell you, with every picture and every post and everything I saw, you guys just impressed the hell out of me. So again, hats off to all of you.
Thank you.
And as happy as I am for what you guys pulled off. I'm equally as happy of what everyone's doing for the sport.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, that's really all we care about is the sport itself. And I've never been happier to be a part of drag racing in any form right now because it's pretty damn good.
It is.
I think when I texted you on Friday, Pete, I believe Rob's car count was 254. I want to say that's what it was. So
I know that I want to say at like 220-ish, Rob posted that it's the best turnout he's ever had.
Yeah.
And then the number kept growing. So, 250-ish, I'm guessing that's about right. As I'm talking to you, I'm reading through the comments to see if someone could pop on and give us 232. We had Rob Keister, 232. And Rob, that's a record for you by how many? What's the most you've ever had roughly previous to that? But yeah, I mean, great job. And anyone that could check out a really cool video, I'm going to have my buddy post it, of the winner in Super Comp, Tom Stalba.
I put it on the Facebook page yesterday.
Oh, that's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Rob Keister said the best he's ever had prior to this weekend. Are you ready for this? 106.
What?
He more than doubled his best showing ever. That is freaking insane. Rob, congrats to you too, buddy.
Hey,
good
and
Lord, that's all. That's
like we talked about the other day, Pete. Well, I don't know how far the media is from Maple Grove, but there was a lot of cars there, like you did say. So you figure within 100 miles or less, there was probably close to
500,
400 to 500 cars.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a car count for the media, and I'll get it. I'll ask some people and find out. But I mean, it definitely helped that even though they were so close together, no one was really stepping on anybody's toes, because it wasn't the same kind of racing.
Right. Agreed.
Obviously no rules, no time would never be at a big bracket race at the media, and the big bracket race and the .90 stuff could kind of cut into each other, but clearly it didn't seem to affect much because you guys all did killer.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Hey, and by the way, Manny chimed in. Brian, he goes, no, my best 60 foot on a 275 is 945.
That's not even fair.
I don't know. I got them by 4,000. So
that's funny. That's awesome.
Good God.
No,
so Chris, in answer to your question, the media and Maple Grove are 2 hours away from each other.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
close.
saw that. Kevin
Got
put
that.
it up. So within 2 hours, there were roughly 400 to 500 cars racing.
Wow.
Pretty freaking impressive. And let's have a guess on car count for Maple Grove this weekend. And Brian, feel free to throw your hat in the ring on this one. What are we guessing for Maple Grove? Total car count.
Total car count. I'm going to go with 285.
Ooh. Chris.
I have a reason for that before anybody.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have been sitting around and they're tired of waiting, and they're tired of, they had a lot of free time in the last year and a half. People get their cars done, and people are like, I just want to go racing. And I think a lot more people are going to come out. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are going to all these races all over is they're just.
Well, I'm going to give you a number that I think is going to shock you, but Chris, go ahead.
472.
Scott, you know nothing about what we do, but go ahead, throw it in there.
340.
I'm going to say we're going to break 450.
I'm one way low. There's 8 alcohol.
I think we're gonna break.
Hold on. All right. Scott said what?
340.
340. Brian,
we're going to give you another guess because you're the guest.
Yeah, I'm way low.
The problem is they get like the Super Street. They're going to get like 74 Super Street cars or something.
well, there was no stock, no super stock
Okay.
at this event this past weekend either.
Correct.
Ooh.
It was dot 90, top dragster, top sportsman.
Scott, on any given day, 100 stockers could show up with no problem at all.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It gets
That's
crazy.
just stock eliminator.
Right.
All right, Brian.
I'm gonna go to 355.
I was going to say, why don't you piss Scott off and say
355.
341?
We playing the price of right rules. Is it close without going over? Or
Well, if we're thinking about having a family feud night, so we'll have to have you on for that. All right, Pete.
I said 450.
450, and I
Yes, sir.
said 472. All right,
And
so
Rob
we'll find out.
Rob Keister says 475. Weather is iffy and PDRA is in Norwalk, which will be running Sportsman Top Dragster.
All right, this is what we'll do. If you want to get in on this, put your guests up on the post, up on the thread for the show tonight, and whoever gets the closest will send you something.
I'll send you a Scotty Wheels Racing t-shirt.
I have water bottles, pens, and can
Perfect.
koozies.
We'll make a little package.
Yep. So that's what we'll do. That's what, instead of having a poll and the fact that we're going to be off Monday because it's Memorial Day, we're going to do that. So if anybody who's listening, pick a number for this weekend on the car count, put it up on the show thread on Facebook, and I don't want Pete in a box.
You couldn't be that lucky to get me delivered to you, pal.
All right, cool.
It'd be a very small box.
Yeah, you got that right.
Very true.
Wide, but small. Yeah.
Like a brick.
All right. And we're getting, all right, Kevin, 400 and, all right, getting this.
410.
All right, so I know you guys got to go watch a soap opera.
Yeah, the soap opera started 20 minutes ago.
wait,
Oh,
Just
good.
Think
That
of
means
all the
all-
commercials you won't.
Street Outlaws, Brian. Street Outlaws.
410. All right, cool. Like I said, everybody put your pick for car count at Maple Grove Divisional this coming weekend in there, and we'll find out whoever's closest. We'll send you some stuff. So, Brian, thank you again, my man, for coming on and hanging out with us. Hope you had fun.
Thanks, Brian.
Best of luck this year, my man.
thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Scotty, great job with your race. Pete, glad you could make it.
Better late than never.
Absolutely. All right, guys, get on out of here. Go watch the soap operas. Go, Brian, go get your race car ready for this weekend.
Believe it or not,
And-
we're loaded and ready to roll. So
All right, cool.
Man, that's not like me. Oh my God.
yeah, I don't like to wait to the last minute.
All right, you guys, have a great night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.
See
good
ya.
My button's not working.
Scotty Wheels Racing is a veteran owned and operated company that specializes in performance parts, installation, and tuning. They can build and design your chassis right at their shop in Hamden, Connecticut. They offer track and remote tuning for your electronic fuel injection and chassis. They are your one-stop shop, including brakes and suspension, chassis, engine parts, fuel systems, turbos, and accessories. They not only sell it, they race it on their own in-house race car. Be sure to check out their website at www.scottywheels.com or give them a call at 203-500-5995.
All right, everybody, we are out of here. If you're racing this weekend, be safe. Good luck. Have fun. Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Remember the people that serve to keep this country great.